صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. We are drawing closer to the day that we wait for throughout the year, to let out what we are holding inside of us, that build up of emotion, that huzn, that, I don't want to say depression, but that pain that we feel inside of us. For Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, the day is drawing closer and the heart feels heavier day and night as we get closer to the day of Ashura. Here on Verses of Love, we welcome you again for a night of aza and lamentation, for a night of understanding of who the Ahlul Bayt are, who the martyrs of Karbala are. And throughout the previous nights, we have spoken about al-Banin salamullahi alayha, al-Alila, Fatima al-Alila, daughter of Imam Hussein, Muslim ibn Aqil, the companions, the Ansar, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. But tonight, traditionally, we commemorate a personality that I personally hold very dear and I feel a strong connection with. That is none other than Qasim ibn al-Hasan salamullahi alayhi. That young warrior. He didn't set out to be a warrior, but he became a young warrior on the day of Ashura. And tonight we commemorate him. Tonight we remember that at such a young age, what sacrifices can be done for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. But before we do get into this, we would like to welcome Mullah Rashid Haidar to recite a few lines of poetry and lamentation in honor of Qasim ibn al-Hasan alayhi salam. We welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
يوم ما ذكريني من تمر زفت شباب من العرس محروم وحنيتي دم المصاب شمعة شبابي من يطفوها حنيتي دمي والجفن ذار التراب يوم ما ذكريني من تمر زفت شباب من ثدي النيبة راضع بصاف الحليب وبهالشهادة صار لي قسمة ونصيب من ثدي النيبة راضع بصاف الحليب وبهالشهادة صار لي قسمة ونصيب حفيت بدمي خلي فرشوها حفيت بدمي خلي فرشوها حنيت دمي والجفن ذار التراب يوم ما ذكريني من تمر زفت شباب يوم ما ذكريني من تمر زفت شباب من العرس محروم حنتي دم المصاب شمعة شبابي من يطفوها حنتي دمي والجفن ذار التراب. يوم ذكريني من تمر زفة شباب. يوم المبارك أصبح الدين شهيد، وفزاع العمي من يظل بالطف وحيد. رملة بمصابي خلي واسوها، رملة بمصابي خلي واسوها. حنة دمي والجفن ذار التراب. يوم ذكريني من تمر زفة شباب. يوم ذكريني، يوم ذكريني من تمر زفة شباب. من العرس محروم حنتي دم المصاب. شمعة شبابي من يطفوها، حنتي دمي والجفن ذار التراب. يوم ذكريني من تمر زفة شباب. Mother, my whole life I've wanted to make you proud, to make you happy. It's all that I've ever vowed. Mother, my whole life I've wanted to make you proud, to make you happy. It's all that I've ever vowed. My youth's been taken, I lay in my shroud. My youth's been taken, I lay in my shroud. Mother, my whole life I've wanted to make you proud. يوم ذكريني من تمر زفة شباب. The way you've raised me, I'd give my life for Hussein. Mother, forgive me if I've caused you any pain. Please don't forget me when my time has come. Please don't forget me when my time has come. Mother, my whole life I've wanted to make you proud. يوم ذكريني من تمر زفة شباب. يوم ذكريني من تمر زفة شباب. من العرس محروم حنتي دم المصاب. شمعة شبابي من يطفوها، حنتي دمي والجفن ذار التراب. يوم ذكريني من تمر زفة شباب. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعدائهم.
أحسنتم. طيب الله أنفاسكم.
Mullah Rashid, طيب الله أنفاسك. May Allah bless you for these beautiful lines of poetry in the English language as well, which surprised me. This is a very known Arabic نوحة or لطمية. يما ذكريني. very old school Karbala'i, and I love the fact that you added English to it as well, Mullah, which really brings it home to a lot of the audiences. Salam Allah al Qasim ibn al Hasan. I'd like to welcome Sayyid Reda al Musawi back to the show. I didn't introduce him earlier as we were just going straight into the lamentations. But Sayyid Reda and I have been speaking for the majority of the nights during the 10 nights about the different personalities that influenced Karbala or had an effect in Karbala or were affected by Karbala. Tonight, Sayyidina, Salamun Alaikum, of course.
Alaikum Assalam wa rahmatullah.
Tonight, we are discussing Qasim ibn al-Hasan, Salamullah alayhi.
Salamullah alayhi.
Who is he? Let's start off with that. Who is he?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. القول مني في جميع الأشياء قول آل محمد فيما أسر وما أعلنوا وفيما بلغني عنهم وفيما لم يبلغني. Qasim, as we know, is the son of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. And he is also the son of Ramla, who, if we were to look at Ramla, and if we were to ever, hypothetically speaking, of course, to see if there was a second al-Baneen in Karbala, then that is Ramla. She lost 3 of her sons in Karbala, the sons of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, and Al-Qasim salamullah alayh had an important role in Karbala. His character, it wasn't just him. One of the things that we have to understand about Al-Qasim is that he carried his father's name in Karbala. Similarly to how the children of Muslim carried Muslim's name in Karbala.
Yeah.
The sons of Zainab carried Zainab's name in Karbala. Similarly to the sons of Imam al-Hasan. As we know, Imam al-Hasan was largely affected by the tragedy of Imam al-Hussein before it even happened. As we know, Imam al-Hasan is there, as we say, throwing out his insides because of the poison of Ja'da. He sees his brother Imam al-Hussein crying. Of course, Imam al-Hussein will cry over his older brother, and the Imam of his time, Imam al-Hasan, looks at him. He says, "You cry over me, O Hussein? La yawm ka yawmika ya Aba Abdullah." We see how much Imam al-Hasan is affected from that day. And his son Al-Qasim represented Imam al-Hasan, this madloom Imam, on the day of Karbala. And this also teaches us a lesson that whatever you do, especially when it's khidmah of Ahlul Bayt, include your parents in the reward. Represent your parents proudly and have a correct image of them. As we see the khadama, if they're handing out tea or anything, what do the khuddam tell them? Rahmallahu waldiyak. May God's mercy be upon your parents for raising you this way, to be a khadim. So we have to take that in the part of Al-Qasim, because we see Al-Qasim, when he went to Imam al-Hussein, he didn't just say that I'm coming to fight. He says, this is the clothes of my father. This was the wasiyah of my father. My mother has placed these clothes on top of me. My mother has given me... See how he includes his mother and father in who he is. It's also a lesson that never forget your mother and father. They made you who you are. Al-Qasim exemplifies this in his actions, salamullah alayh, that he carried his father's name. Many people, they carry their father's name in the worst way possible. They do not represent their parents in the correct way. And that is something that we should take into consideration, especially when Al-Qasim is a role model, not just for the youth, for everyone. And we also see another point in Al-Qasim, that his role wasn't just specified to Yawm al-Ashir. Because he sacrificed for Imam al-Hussein, he became eternal. Until now, we remember Al-Qasim. We cry over Al-Qasim because he became a role model for the youth, a role model for bravery, a role model, like you said, a warrior in his own right, where they had to attack him with many men, not just one-on-one, because he was brave enough. The teachings of Hussein and Al-Abbas, salamullah alayh. So we see that he fell under the banner of the long-lasting and everlasting banner of Al-Hussein ibn Ali, salamullahi alayh. So this is Al-Qasim, and this is the role that he played in Karbala, which is very touching to the heart, especially when we remember his musibah. We have to understand there are many insights we can gain from his life, even though we see a short amount of years. Some narrations say 11 years old, some narrations say 13, but there are a lot of insights we can gain from his life. One of which is Al-Qasim's perspective on death. Us, youth and grown-ups, we hate thinking about death.
Yeah.
We hate mentioning death. We hate remembering death. If you were ever to sit down with a group of friends of yours, you want to see that group scatter away so quickly, mention death in front of them. They can't stand to mention death. But our religion teaches us to frequently mention death. We see Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says,
wake up call.
of course,
Yeah.
Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, أكثروا ذكر الموت ويوم خروجكم من القبور وقيامكم بين يدي الله عز وجل تهون عليكم المصائب. He says, frequently remind yourselves of death. Remind yourselves of the day that you will be resurrected on the day of judgment. Your calamities in this world will become insignificant. تهون عليكم المصائب. Because when our perspective of death turns into a reminder, like you said beautifully, a wake-up call, for us to always remember that as long as when they asked Imam Hussein, كيف أصبحت? He says, أصبحت ولي رب فوقي والموت يطلبني. Death seeks me. I woke up, I have a God above me, and death seeks me. So when you have that perspective that death is something that should push you to do good, that should push you to gain closeness to Allah Azza wa Jal, you will be like Al-Qasim, where he was asked, how do you view death? This is an 11-year-old we're speaking about, by the way. He answers a question that many grown-ups would not be able to answer. He says, أحلى من العسل, sweeter than honey. What type of insight, what type of foresight, what type of basira did Al-Qasim have? He says, I view it as sweeter than honey, because if it is in the sake of the truth, if in the sake of the Imam of my time, then death is this. But of course, if we were living a life of sin, a life of bad akhlaq, a life of ghibah, a life that is far away from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, a life of hypocrisy. I speak to myself first before anyone else, where we can sit here and do khidmah for Imam al-Hussein, but as soon as we leave these doors, we are falling into sin. We may be religious these 10 nights, but then as soon as the 10th is finished, we forget Imam al-Hussein. I speak to myself first. Let's take Al-Qasim as our role model, where he frequently remembers death, salamullah alayh, and he views it as sweeter than honey. When he speaks like this is someone who has sat down with death, who has contemplated death, hasn't just given it like a simple thought and forgotten about it. No, Al-Qasim with that young age of his gives an answer that is so deep, that is someone that has truly contemplated about this. We should have this standpoint and viewpoint when it comes to death as well. Another point that many people don't mention, and a mentor of mine actually gave me this point, which I find it to be very important. Al-Qasim's insistence to fight.
Yeah.
In the beginning we see Imam al-Hussein, he didn't let Al-Qasim, he told him that you are what's left of my brother Al-Hasan. Every time I look at you, I remember my brother Al-Hasan. You bring me peace when I look at you because you remind me of my older brother. But Al-Qasim insisted. And this insistence, it has a major lesson that we can learn. First of all, in our lives, we have to have this habit that Al-Qasim had, which is insistence. A perspective of it is insistence in dua. Malah, to have ilhah in dua. Many people, they ask Allah once or twice, they give up. They say, Allah is not hearing me, or Allah is not responding to my dua, that's it. Or they find any excuse just to stop making dua. We have the hadith of Imam al-Sadiq, he says, إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنِ لَيَدْعُو فِي حَاجَتِهِ فَيَقُولُ اللَّهِ. A mu'min makes a dua, Allah responds, and he says, أَخِّرُوا حَاجَتِهِ. Delay his haja. What he wants, delay it. Why? شوقا إلى دعائه. Allah loves to hear your voice. Sometimes Allah loves to hear our voices. Some of the believers, Allah loves to hear their voice. He delays their hajj so they can continue making dua. فإذا كان يوم القيامة. Let's say he delayed us from this hajj because he wanted to hear our dua. The day of judgment, يقول الله عبدي دعوتني في كذا فأخرت إجابتك في ثوابك كذا ودعوتني في كذا فأخرت إجابتك في ثوابك. He says that I delayed what you wanted from me. So here's the reward of me delaying your dua. But what's this reward? The Imam continues the hadith. He says, قال فيتمنى المؤمن أنه لم يستجب له دعوة في الدنيا لما يرى من حسن ثوابه. He will receive the compensation for Allah delaying his dua, that he will wish that Allah would have never accepted a dua from him.
Delayed it eternally.
For the level of reward that he will see on the day of judgment. Allah loves to see his servant persistent in dua. We are a Muslim. A Muslim is someone that has submitted to Allah, a servant of Allah. The best way to show your servitude to Allah is in what? Is in dua. Admitting to Allah that I am hopeless. I am incapable without you, O Allah. So that insistence in dua is something that is very important that we should take on. And another point, it's not just insistence in dua, in anything that gains you closeness to Allah. We have to have this habit of insistence. Being resilient in sacrificing for the sake of Allah and for the sake of the Imam of our time. A point that we didn't have enough time to mention the day before yesterday, about the companions of the Imam. At the end of the day, Qasim falls under وَالْأَرْوَاحَ الَّتِي حَلَّتْ بِفِنَائِكَ, because he well and truly sacrificed himself for Imam Hussein. One of the points that we can learn from him and from the companions, when they sacrificed for Imam al-Hussein, when Qasim sacrificed for Imam al-Hussein, he sacrificed it and it was his pleasure to do so. What do I mean by this? Sometimes we sit here, we do khidmah. Things don't go well. We like to remind Imam al-Hussein that we done khidmah for him. I done khidmah for you. Or he makes dua with Allah. I gave charity. I done this. As if he's not happy to do so.
This word I is a problem.
Ahsant. You look at the companions of the Imam, it was their pleasure to do so. They were facing death. And on the night of the 10th, they were laughing with each other. On the morning of the Ashar, they would say they were joking with each other because they were happy to meet Shahada. It was their pleasure to serve their Imam. Us in these 10 days throughout the year when we serve our Imam, is it how the Iraqis like to say, min wara khashumna? Behind our nose, like something like we don't really want to do, but we feel like we're kind of forced. And then every time something goes back, we like to remind the Imam as if we are doing a favor towards him. That I done this for you, why is this not working out in my life? We have to understand that where's our sincerity? Where's our sincerity? That when we read in the poetry and the na'i, when we cry over Imam al-Hussein, we say that تبكيك عيني لا لأجل مثوبة إنما عيني لأجلك باكية. That I cry for you, not because of a reward, but my eyes tear when I remember you, O Hussein. My heart breaks when I remember the tragedy of Al-Qasim. My emotions shatter when I remember Al-Abbas. So what am I doing this for? Am I doing it for the reward? Am I doing it for the love of them? Or am I doing it because I expect something in return? And when I do not get this thing in return, I like to blame them and I like to remind them that I done this and I done that. So this is also a lesson that we can get from Al-Qasim salamullahi alayh. And another point is that you see this with Al-Qasim. One of the maqatil, some of them, they mentioned that he kept on insisting on the Imam to go to battle. Imagine if me and you, or me, I was with the Imam of my time. ظهر al-Imam, and I want to go fight for him. I tell him, Mawla, I want to fight for you. The Imam will say, no, you're not ready. Oh, please, Imam, I insist. No, you're not ready. Okay, I'll walk away. How many of us will actually insist to the point like Al-Qasim, where the hadith says that Al-Qasim fell to the feet of Imam Al-Hussein and started kissing it, begging for the Imam to go shahada? Who of us would do that? Look at that insistence for the sacrifice in the path of Allah. Us, we do a half sincere job for the Imam, a half sincere khidmah, a quarter sincere khidmah, and we feel like we deserve all of this and we deserve even more. I speak on myself. You have Al-Qasim fell to the feet of his uncle, begging him that let me sacrifice myself for you. We have to have this persistence and insistence when it comes to the khidmah of Imam al-Hussein. There is no khidmah that is too belittling for you. What, you're too big now to sort out the shoes outside?
To vacuum.
You're too big now to vacuum? I say this to myself. Sometimes I may sit here, I may do a lecture, I may think I'm all that. But the khidmah of Imam al-Hussein knows, it didn't know the difference between Habib and John. It didn't know the difference between Wahab and Al-Hur. It didn't know the difference between black and white, between rich and poor, between slave or free man. It knew the love of Imam al-Hussein. It knew no differences. So where do we stand when it comes to this? Where do we stand when it comes to persisting in giving for the sake of the Imam? And this is something that well and truly is a lesson that we can learn from Al-Qasim salamullahi alayhi. And the final point that I feel like will take a bit of time, but I feel like it's important. Qasim salamullahi alayhi gives us many valuable lessons into our youth. And how we can translate the lesson of Al-Qasim into our youth. Because at the end of the day, their story, the story of Imam al-Hussein, ibra wa abra. Both a tear, both a lesson. And the mullah and Abu Talib, they give the part of the tear. Allah waffaqhum, and I wish to be a servant for them. However, we will look at Al-Qasim salamullah alayhi in terms of these lessons because they are very important within our communities. Of them are our youth. How do we treat our youth within our communities? First point is to invest in the youth. Invest in the youth by teaching them. Protecting them from misconceptions. We live at a time where misconceptions are dangerous. How many youth did we see go to different ideologies, different paths, different...
Name you.
Countless. Where is our responsibility
for years,
towards?
By the way, it's not like it was a period of time and then disappeared. For years, people are not attached to the service of Imam al-Hussein as one would hope. Falling like flies, unfortunately.
Hasan, and I told you this the other day when we were sitting down. How many khuddam did we see come and go? Where we would look at them before, we would say, there's no way he would leave the khidmah. But he went. We have to invest in our children.
Investment is one thing, but khidmah is tawfiq. That's another thing we need to understand as well. Khidmah is tawfiq. Yani if Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha didn't want us to be in this Husayniyah now, we wouldn't be in here.
Of course.
We may have that love for the Ahlul Bayt, which we do need to instill into our children, into our youth, which I believe what you're alluding to in terms of investment. But at the end of the day, this is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's all from above.
Of course, your point is completely valid. It's all from above. There is the verse in the Quran. يهدي من يشاء ويضل من يشاء. Someone once came to a scholar, he said, Sayyidina Mawlana, Allah guides who He wills and He misguides who He wills. Then the misguided, they have no choice. Allah chose to misguide them, so they were misguided. And those who Allah guided, they had no choice. Allah chose to guide them. He said, no. He said, يهدي من يشاء للهداية ويضل من يشاء للضلالة. Allah looks at your heart. If your heart doesn't have that foundation of love, He removes it. If Allah does not see that your heart has the foundation for knowledge, He will remove it. But if Allah sees your heart has at least a foundation of the love of Ahlul Bayt, a love of respect, just at least even a little level. What made Al-Hur change? When Imam Al-Hussein insulted him for cutting the Imam off, Al-Hur was the reason Imam Al-Hussein was killed in Karbala. He stopped the Imam in Karbala, him and his army. But what made Al-Hur now to what he is today? When the Imam insulted him, he looked back at Imam Al-Hussein and he was like, and your mother is Fatima and I will never insult Fatima. He was against the Imam, but he still had, to a degree, a level of respect for Fatima. He had the tawfiq for hidayah. So tawfiq is a very important thing, but you have to have the base for it. So investing in our children to teach them, to make sure they learn, is very important. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, علموا صبيانكم من علمنا ما ينفعهم الله به لا تغلب عليهم المرجئة برأيها. Al-Murji'ah was a deviant group at the time. He says the Imam, علموا صبيانكم, in another hadith says, بادروا, seek, quickly, run towards teaching them.
Yeah.
Because there are other ideologies, other thoughts, other perspectives. They will take your children will go. That's on one end. Another point is include them in the service of the Imam by giving them responsibilities. You have one of the shawag, give him a cameraman responsibility, give him a responsibility in the khidmah, so they do not go anywhere else. If they come here and they are like the audience and they have no responsibility, they're not even treated well, they'll feel like they're not appreciated. They'll go somewhere else where they make them feel appreciated. They fake this appreciation for them and they will stay there. Give them roles, give them responsibilities within us. And another point is, do not treat them like children.
This is the problem.
When you treat them like children, they will continue to act like children. Treat them like adults, give them the respect that you would give another adult.
The respect they deserve.
Of course.
Otherwise, coming into the Husayniyah, coming into the line of service, he should be treated like a king.
Of course.
Khadim al-Hussein.
And we see this with Imam al-Hussein, with al-Qasim. He could have treated him like any other kid. But we see he asks him a question that the most knowledgeable of men cannot answer. He doesn't treat him like a child, he treats him like a man. And he asks him, كيف ترى الموت?
Allahu Akbar.
Do not treat these youth that come here like children. Have that respect for them, because they will appreciate it a lot. There are so much times we see khuddam, they come and go. No one even sits to tell them, look, I appreciate your khidmah. Do you know how much that means for some people? All people need is a little bit of appreciation, a little bit of respect. That's all they need to keep going. Sometimes a lot of people are doing khidmah, it's unthanked work, especially the people behind the scenes. I can sit here and I have a camera in front of me and I have people that write ahsan, or I will be thanked for what I do. But there are so many people behind the scenes, behind the camera, behind the Husayniyah. So much thankless work. All you need is a movement of ahsan. Barakallah beek. Allah wafqak bil khidmah. Make dua for us. Especially with the youth. A little bit of appreciation goes a long way, and encouragement. I saw this with myself. I started at the age of 14 with lectures. Most people were discouraging me, which is funny, because usually when you see a youth who's trying to do something in the service of Imam al-Hussein, he's supposed to be encouraged. No. Nowadays you see when the youth wants to do something, he wants to become a radud, he wants to become a poet, he wants to become a khatib, he's not encouraged. And it's funny, the people that are not encouraging him are the people that have no experience in that field. The khutaba, my mentors, were encouraging me. Those who've been there, done that. But those who've never lectured a day in their life, they weren't encouraging me when I was at that age. Encourage the youth.
I think times have changed though, Sayyid. I think when we were growing up, it was a lot more difficult. It was a struggle. We grew up without the opportunities that the youth have today. There's a lot more youth programs, there's a lot more places for the youth to ikhdim, especially in Husayniyah like this. The youth are pretty much running everything. Obviously, with the guidance of the elders, with the supervision of some of the elders, with the experience of the elders. I disagree with youth completely taking over center without the experience of those who have come before them.
Of course.
Because that's when they start going on different paths. But in a blessed Husayniyah like this one, there is one one man, Hajj Radhi, may Allah give him a good, long life and the best of health, inshallah. Allah yahfadha. He always encourages the youth. He goes to me, Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi, rahmatullah al-Ruha, would tell me, Shabab, go to London, open a Husayniyah for the Shabab, al-Shabab, al-Shabab, al-Shabab. And he spent his whole life, as a kid he would kick me, he would send me to my dad, he would shout at me. But that was all part of the nurturing.
Of course.
He would never stop us from serving. Kitchen, go kitchen. Cleaning, clean. Latum, latum. Lectures, lectures. They even allowed us to have a tent in the Husayniyah, in the older place you had, and the youth, they had youth majalis, they had. So this goes back to the point you're making. We have to lay the foundations,
of course,
for the shabab.
It's very important.
We have to. And we've seen the results of it through the majalis. We've seen how they are holding the different departments in the Husayniyah, the different areas. Departments may not be the right word to use, but sometimes when the Husayniyah is so big, we say, for example, the kitchen team.
They're all doing their role, and that's something that is encouraged, and that's something we have to hold on to, because a lot of people, unfortunately, what they do is they don't give them these responsibilities. The youth, they grow up feeling like they don't know what they want to do, and they just let go of that. They just end up leaving, because we have to understand, especially that age. Well, we're talking about Qasim, the age of 11 to 13 to 15, is an age where you have to be on top of them. You have to remember them, ask how they are doing. They're going through a period of change. We have to understand that physically, mentally, spiritually. This is a part where they are molded to whatever you put them in. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, وَإِنَّمَا قَلْبُ الْحَدَثِ كَالْأَرْضِ الْخَالِيَةِ مَا أُلْقِيَ فِيهَا مِنْ شَيْءٍ قَبِلَتْهُ. The heart of a youth at that age is like an empty land. Whatever seed you place in it, it will accept and it will grow it into a tree. If it's a good tree, if it's a good seed, it will become a good tree. But if it's a bad seed, it will turn into a bad tree. And the more it grows, the harder it will be to pull out from its roots.
Yes.
We have to understand that the environment is very important. When you put them in an environment like this, when me and you grew up in an environment like this, it was so much easier for us to get guidance. It was so much easier for us to connect with Ahl al-Bayt, because we were around Khuddam, we were around the Mashayikh, we were around the Rawadid, we were around the servants of Imam Hussein.
The same way we were brought up by our parents, we were brought up by the Khuddam at the same time.
100%.
Every day with the same faces, the same Khuddam, the same people that are surrounding us. That's going to influence us.
Exactly, and we see this with Al-Qasim Salamullahi alayh. What better environment did he have? His father, Hasan, his uncle, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, his cousin.
What an environment to grow in.
His cousin, Ali al-Akbar, his other uncle, al-Imam al-Hussein, his auntie, Zainab,
Jabal al-Sabr,
his auntie, Kulthum, his grandmother, Sayyid al-Zahra, his grandfather, Amir al-Mu'mineen. To be in that right environment. And I feel like these are many lessons that we just talked about, and there's so much more that we can touch up on Al-Qasim Salamullah alayhi, but I feel like
from an 11-year-old.
All of that from an 11-year-old.
Salamullah al-Qasim.
So it goes to teach you who this man is.
And what a musibah he went through.
Of course.
What a musibah he went through.
Salamullah alayhi.
Like I said, from the 10 nights of Muharram, barring the day of Ashura, of course all the nights are special. I have a special connection with this night. And tonight we done the ceremony for Qasim Salamullahi alayhi. Hence the white Dijdasha. Salamullah al Qasim al Hasan. What we'll do, Sayyidina, we will bid farewell to our guests, inshallah. But before we end the show, I think it's only fitting, like we say, we end our lives with Ya Hussein. We will end the show with Ya Hussein and a recitation by Mullah Rashid Haidar in honor of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. We welcome him with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli
ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah.
Oh my Qasim, let me see your bright face once again. Oh my Qasim, until I see you my heart won't rest. Oh my Qasim, let me see your bright face once again. Oh my Qasim, until I see you my heart won't rest. The backbone of Hasan. was trampled on the sand. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. He was handsome like the moon, but the moon couldn't compete. He was handsome like the moon, but the moon couldn't compete. For the bloodline of the Prophet even made the stars retreat. For the bloodline of the Prophet even made the stars retreat. The young prince of Karbala, what a short life did you live. The young prince of Karbala, what a short life did you live. But as said by your mother, this was your time to give. But as said by your mother, this was your time to give. Oh, my Qasim, indeed you prepared for this sad day. Oh, my Qasim, from the earth they took your light away. Oh, my Qasim, indeed you prepared for this sad day. Oh, my Qasim, from the earth they took your light away. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. Oh, my Qasim, let me see your bright face once again. Oh, my Qasim, until I see you, my heart won't rest. Oh, my Qasim, let me see your bright face once again. Oh, my Qasim, until I see you, my heart won't rest. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. Even at his tender age, he was well trained to battle. Even at his tender age, he was well trained to battle. He fought with braveness and courage, the enemies were rattled. He fought with braveness and courage, the enemies were rattled. But when the sandal had snapped, the evildoers attacked. But when the sandal had snapped, the evildoers attacked. When they struck his holy head, he then called his beloved. When they struck his holy head, he then called his beloved. Oh, my Qasim, your uncle came rushing to your side. Oh, my Qasim, the Imam embraced you one last time. Oh, my Qasim, your uncle came rushing to your side. Oh, my Qasim, the Imam embraced you one last time. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. Dressed in his father's attire, who wouldn't be mesmerized? Dressed in his father's attire, who wouldn't be mesmerized? The image of his grandfather, in him people recognized. The image of his grandfather, in him people recognized. Upon reading Hasan's letter, Hussein had to let him go. Upon reading Hasan's letter, Hussein had to let him go. Knowing he won't ever come back, the Imam's heart truly broke. Knowing he won't ever come back, the Imam's heart truly broke. Oh, my Qasim, you bravely walk towards your own death. Oh, my Qasim, How was it fighting till your last breath? Oh, my Qasim, you bravely walked towards your own death. Oh, my Qasim, how was it fighting till your last breath? The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. Oh, my Qasim, let me see your bright face once again. Oh, my Qasim, until I see you, my heart won't rest. Oh, my Qasim, let me see your bright face once again. Oh, my Qasim, until I see you, my heart won't rest. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. The backbone of Hasan was trampled on the sand. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والآن
أحسنتم ولا
أعدام.
طيب الله
أحسنتم
أنفاسكم.
ملا راشد طيب الله أنفاسكم. Thank you for your recitation. Thank you, Sayyidina, for joining us on tonight's show. Lots of lessons taken from tonight's show from an 11-year-old. May Allah grant us the ziyarah of Qasim ibn al-Hasan, the ziyarah of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, so we can do aza under his dome, inshaAllah. Thank you, dear viewers, for joining us, and inshaAllah you'll join us tomorrow for another heavy night on the heart. And we say before we end the show, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Oh